welcome to Writer, where we meet the authors you love and introduce you to new authors and books for your TBR pile. I'm your host, Kat Filer, also known as KJ Filer, and my guest today is Ingrid McCarthy, author of Anna's Shadows. Inspired by true events, Anna's Shadow is a dramatic yet uplifting story, a search for a missing woman that will take the reader from present-day Verona to Verona in 1945 under German occupation, to post-war Switzerland, Germany, and Canada, and which explores the question of coincidence, destiny, and fate. Hi, Ingrid. It's so good to see you. How are you doing today?
Hi, Kat. Lovely to be with you, and thank you for the invitation.
My pleasure. Well, let's dive right in. Would you please tell listeners a little bit about the plot of Anna's Shadow?
Yes. Well, to begin with, the plot originated in a way from a tale a woman told me many, many years ago, a German friend, and she told me how she met her husband. And it was during the war when she was studying in Berlin at the university. And during that time, a young officer was billeted with her family who lived in southern Germany. And there was a portrait in the family room of her, of the young woman, and he fell in love with the portrait. And he said, if I survive the war, I will come back and I will marry your daughter. He did survive the war and he married her, and then the couple immigrated to Canada. And that's when I learned about her story. That was many, many, many years ago, actually. Should I say in the last century? It was maybe somewhere around 1980 or something like that. I always thought that was so romantic. By then, I wasn't a writer yet. And flash forward, several years ago, I saw an article in the Opera magazine about the Juliet Club in Verona. And when I read about it, I had no idea it existed, and that there was a club managed by a woman, and it dates back to 1933, not managed by the very same women, but several other people. And they answer letters that are addressed to Juliet, the fictional character from Romeo and Juliet. And these writers asked Juliet for advice when they have a broken heart or when they are in love or don't know what to do. And I thought, oh, that is so, so romantic, and almost brought little tears to my eyes. And then I suddenly remembered, don't ask me why, but somehow the memory of my friend who had met her husband after the war, under those circumstances, somehow it gelled and it then turned into a story. Because both events, the fact that this Juliet Club really, really exists, which is so charming. And I only know the beginning of, I know, when I write, I always know the first chapter of each novel. So I had the introduction, or it was a preface, but then I really didn't know how to continue. And I don't know how it went. And how to ask me today, did I have any notes? I had no notes. All the characters suddenly popped into my head, and the story wrote itself from chapter to chapter. And in order to bring the portrait in, I obviously had to go into the past, to the war. And when I did some research, I had no idea about the historical facts in that region either. That was all new to me. And when I read that the Nazis had in the infamous Palazzo dell'Ina, that they had the headquarters there, I said, oh my goodness, it all fits in. It all fits in. I didn't have any of those details. I was doing massive research. And I then came up with the story about changing the characters, obviously, and just used the fact that a young officer fell in love with a portrait and then ended up marrying that young woman. However, in the book, it is not an officer, but a chauffeur, a German soldier, and a chauffeur, because I wanted to write the novel more from a non-combatant soldier's point of view. And we have the character. It is my female character, Sofia, who is Canadian-Italian or Italian-Canadian descent, who happens to be on stress leave because she's working with Doctors Without Borders, and she's posted in the Congo Republic. Her fiancé gets murdered or dies in an ambush. She is heartbroken and needs time away from the stress. Contacts her best friend, who, imaginary, is the manager of the Juliet club. And she then also has family in Verona, stays with family, and then, because of family dynamics, decides to go to the Juliet club and answer letters to all the in English, because they're always looking for people who can also speak English, and doesn't matter what language. I could go, I speak 4 languages, and I could go there and I could say, okay, I can answer all your letters that arrive in German or in Spanish or in French. And German, by the way, is my mother tongue. And and although the novel is written from Sofia's point of view, she is writing it. However, it is only partly her story. It is the story of 2 German men, soldiers, who are both chauffeurs to a high commanding officer in Verona. And they are being sent on a mission to root out partisans. And during one of those missions, the youngest one of the chauffeurs finds a young woman under a bed hiding, and he just does not have the heart to pull her out, to deliver her to the officers, the German officers who were trying to destroy this family because they had strong connections with the Italian partisans. And so he decides to stay. There's nobody there. When his friend then came and said, okay, did you find anybody? He says, no, there's nobody there. His friend then tells him, get out of here. The friend goes in, shuts the door, and he stays in there for the longest time. My young man is very nervous, afraid what his friend might do, because he will obviously find the young woman. And when his friend comes out again, he shuts the door and he says, you're right, there's no one in there.
Okay.
But yet, my young, his name is Luke, he is suspicious, and he thinks that his friend has done this young woman harm.
Yeah.
Then very next day, Hitler commits suicide. Everything falls to pieces. The Allies are approaching. He is whisked out of Verona by his friend, left in a partisan camp, and his friend disappears. And from there on, develops the story as the young man is then being taken by a Swiss nurse to Switzerland, then later back to Germany, and later he immigrates to Canada. Yet during all that time, although he marries and he has always plans on going back to Verona to find out what happened to this young woman, is she still alive? And life gets in the way.
Right, yeah.
Until he is in his late 80s and he is widowed, and he goes back in the past and suddenly into the past, and suddenly he wants to know what happened to the young woman. So he asked his son to write to the Juliet Club, because he himself by then suffers from macular degeneration. He can't write very well anymore. The letter arrives. My Sofia receives the letter, writes some sort of a response. It doesn't go down well with Luke, so he and his son decide to go to Verona, and they make contact with Sofia, ask her, please, will you help us? And I mean, I'm only just describing the tip of the
beginning,
iceberg.
yeah.
There's a lot of other things happening in between. We learn a bit about Sofia, her dynamics with her family, and her relationship with her family, and how she interacts with Luke and his son, and how they dig into the past and just dig out a lot of dirt also. And yeah, and I won't tell you, are they going to find Anna? It says Anna's shadow, so it's not really Anna's story. However, there is a mystery and there is a huge twist in the story. And I've always been told, wow, Ingrid, you really hit us in the face with that twist, you see. So, that's, yeah. And I'm very proud about this novel. I really, really enjoyed writing it, enjoyed learning as I was going along writing it. And yeah, and I have had quite a bit of success so far.
What is the genre then? Historical fiction?
Yeah, it is historical fiction, indeed. You're right. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And why do you call this your personal anti-war novel?
All right, that's a good question. It occurred to me as I was writing it, because a lot of books, for example, anti-war novel or war novels, have a lot of battle scenes, and you have the destruction and the death on battle scenes. I did not want to do that. I wanted to paint a picture of the effect it has on the civilian population, in this case, the German population, because when Luke returns to Germany after having spent more or less in hiding in Switzerland, about 4 years after the war, he can't believe what he sees, that there is still so much destruction. People still everywhere, in train stations, in the city, everywhere, among the ruins. People had no homes. People have been families have been ripped apart. And in my case, Luke, his family was killed in the Dresden firebombing, and he was left all alone with just a grandmother, and so were other friends. And the enormous suffering that went on, in the after years among the German population, which is just symbolic because it happens now in Ukraine, it happens in the Middle East. There's no difference. People are people, humans are humans, and you rip them away from their families, you destroy their homes. It is so traumatic.
Mhm.
It goes on from generation to generation. And I wanted to paint that picture. Now, that sounds very, very dramatic, but it has some dramatic scenes in it and chapters. However, it is not a depressing novel. It is quite uplifting. There's a love story there, and it's quite charming, I would like to say, and quite delightful in places. And in some places, you might even chuckle a bit, and in some places, you may even shed a few tears as well. But it does have an uplifting ending. It's not that you will close the book and say, oh my God, how am I going to sleep? No, I think, people will be, I shouldn't say I think, everybody tells me it has a beautiful ending.
Well, people do like it, and you're winning awards. You've won a Literary Titan Gold at least.
That's
Um,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, yes. And also recently I am on the or I should say Anna Shadow is on the short list for the Hemingway Award.
Oh,
Um,
well done.
yeah, and it is for novels, contemporary war novels set in the First World War and Second World War novels. So I'm on the short list, so I'm hoping to end up on the long list. And I am among the 10 finalists in another international competition. And I'm afraid I cannot tell you yet. My lips have to be sealed until the official announcement comes out. And I've been asked just to supply the usual photo and other
Mhm.
information. And they said, please do not broadcast yet.
No.
And until I think the announcement is going to come out the first week of December. So sometime next week we should see it. So I'm quite excited about that too.
Well,
Yeah.
readers are used to me leaving links in the at the bottom of the video, and so and I do update them. So as you have new things to tell me, let me know, and I'll put it
Oh,
there so
oh,
that your
I
readers
will.
can.
Oh, I
Oh,
will.
what was that? Oh, it happened,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. Oh, and then I have to tell you about another very exciting project. I've just finished with a friend of mine to a film script of Anna's Shadow.
Okay.
Yes, the film script is finished, and we have sent it to some industry professionals in here in Canada and also in the United States, in Los Angeles. And we've received some very good feedback. We've made
Wow.
some adjustments and to the film script, and have submitted it now to a very prestigious film script writing competition. So that's kind of exciting as well. Yeah.
It is, and you had a career in theater as a producer, a director, and an actress.
That's correct. That was actually my first passion. Writing novels was never on the horizon, and it came about sometime, I think, in the early 1990s, when my children got married, and I was looking forward then eventually to have grandchildren, and and uh, and I wrote just for them. I wrote a fantasy novels, some fairy tale novels, a trilogy, and I was just kept it then for my children. They weren't even born yet, and they're now in university. But but after I had it written, and I had 3 volumes, and somebody said to me, yeah, but you should publish it. I said, no, 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 I'm not a writer. This is just for fun. And then I said, oh, why not? So I did publish it. And I was then still very much involved in the theater. And then when I retired from the theater after 33 seasons, people said to me, so what are you going to do now? You no longer have your theater. And I said, oh, just for fun, I said, I'm going to move to Argentina, to Buenos Aires, and I'm going to learn how to dance the Argentine tango. And I'm also going to write my theater memoirs. Well, listen, I ended up with a bum knee, so forget about the Argentine tango, you know.
Okay.
And so, but I did write my theater memoirs, and however, very, very, very disguised, because I felt if I were to really write it the way it happened, because very often there was more drama backstage than on.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I'm going to get sued because that's not fair. It's really not fair. So you have in this series, which I actually wrote under my pseudonym, Rose D. Franklin, because I had published by then my children's novels, and my theater memoirs are kind of a little, yeah, they're quite steamy and titillating. And I thought, oh, no, I don't want children to suddenly
Yes.
move over to, so I wrote them under my pseudonym, Rose D. Franklin, and they are called Sex and the Seasons. And it refers to theater season, spring, summer, autumn, and winter season in a theater group. And so you have, it's kind of was fun. And then somebody said to me, this character in there and that character in there, what actually happened to that person? I said, oh, this was a secondary character. And then I took secondary characters out of each novel and wrote little novellas. Who are they? What makes them tick? And that turned into a series of 4 novellas. Then we had a very serious incident here in the high rise where I live, where a man jumped to his death, and we were all so traumatized. And in order to help me with the healing, I wrote a novella and about it, and it was called I can't even remember.
It'll be on Amazon.
Dancing near the edge. Near the edge, yeah. And I use that, and it is a bit of a psychological thriller. However, it helped me because I wanted to know what would make a person so desperate, wanting to jump. And that is also, that's another aspect. What I also wanted to show in Anna's Shadow as my anti-war sentiment is, I wanted to show that, for example, I have one character in there who is a very kind anti-war person. What drove this person to kill?
Yeah.
The situation, and it was not on the battlefield, and yet the effect of the horror of it all, it drove him to kill. And that person appears also, is in the book, and it's quite a story, and it's all explained. And also my rationale, is it murder? What was it? Why can we condone it? And, war makes people do absolutely atrocious things that you would never think, and they themselves would probably never think that they would ever commit these crimes. So back, and then I wrote my childhood memoir. Then during COVID, I was convalescing from hip replacement surgery. I wrote my COVID novel, and then comes Anna's Shadow also. And so
Well, for a person who didn't consider themselves a writer from the beginning, you've
I
done a
know.
lot of writing.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? And people ask, are you missing the theater? And I said, no, this is my theater now. I now create on, on paper or online or I create stories now online, and that is my theater now.
Yeah.
And that's the, you know what? And that's the way I look at everything. I'm a pantser and I have no notes, and I imagine I am sitting in front of the stage. I have my characters and then I move them around, and I block them and I move them around. You go here and there and there. And that's what I do with my characters in the book, you see. Though I can play more God, with my characters. If I don't like them, out they go. If I love them, I embrace them, you see.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
readers are loving On a Shadow. One wrote, I cried happy and sad tears at the end of this story, and so would love to see it made into a movie or a Netflix miniseries. So I'm glad to hear that you're doing a
Yeah. Yes.
screenplay, because it's certainly something that people are interested in. What is your next project?
Or my next project is, I have already one finished novel, and I'm working on a cozy murder mystery.
Oh,
Yeah, with lots of food, and more kind of like in the Agatha Christie style.
mhm.
And I have already the first volume, I have it finished, and I'm now on the second volume, and the second volume is about 2/3 finished. And the novel, the script writing has taken quite a lot of my time, and it was quite an experience, and it was difficult too. So I had to set the novel writing aside for a while, and because usually it takes me about 9 months to write a novel.
Without
This
any, I'm sorry, without any spoilers, can you tell us about the next project, what it's about?
Yes. What it is, the volume 1 is about 4 women who are colleagues in a company. They all come from different countries,
Oh,
and they become friends. And the title of the book is The Friday Evening Dinner Club. And every Friday after work, they get together and they cook a dish from their country. And we have an Iranian woman, a, an Indian woman, a woman from actually from Georgia, and and an Irish woman. So they all cook traditional dishes, you see, from their region, and southern pulled pork or something like this, Anyway, and the recipes will be also at the back.
oh,
Now,
that's wonderful.
and in that company, they have a human resources officer who she's female. She is an absolute beast. And every time these women get together, they let off steam, and they really, really let off steam. And they laugh a lot too. Until one day, one of them says, why don't we just kill her?
Gosh,
The woman does get killed.
oh my, oh no. Okay.
But
No,
who
that
did it?
sounds fun.
Who did it? Who did it? Anyway, it is being revealed at the end of the story. So now book 2 is called Framed in Dordogne, and it is set in the castle where I was last September, and it deals again with these women who very innocently are being accused of having stolen a valuable painting.
Oh,
And even the frame is extremely valuable, therefore framed in Dordogne. So these women are stuck there with other people and can't get out, and a murder has happened. One person has disappeared, and these, especially two women, they have been, and it's the same women from book one, you know, and so how they decide, we're going to go to the bottom of it all. We are going to solve this, and it's more all not about the plot, but it's more about the characters and how they go about it. And it's non police procedural. It's just kind of light, you know, and with lots of food and lots of wonderful things.
You'll have to write that as a play and have it at a dinner theater where we can have all the recipes.
Oh, as a matter of fact, my theater group it wasn't a dinner theater, but it was cabaret style.
Oh,
We had tables and tablecloths and flowers on it, and then there was also we served refreshments. Yeah,
that's
coffee
nice.
and tea
That's
and
really nice.
Yeah. So that was fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I miss the theater? Not really. After 33 years, I've moved on now, you know.
Well,
Yeah,
now you just have the theater of the mind. So
exactly.
you're
Yeah,
doing that
exactly.
now and
Yeah,
sharing it with the rest of us, and we
yeah,
can imagine them ourselves. So
yeah.
yeah. And your characters are very well written, so nobody's going to have any trouble understanding what's going on or who they are.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
Thank you. Thank you.
yes. Well, Ingrid, it has been an honor. Thank you for making the time to talk with us. Listeners, as usual, I will leave the links below so you can find Ingrid, her books, and stay abreast of her passion projects, which is extensive. If you do read Honest Shadow or any of Ingrid's books, which I highly recommend, please do leave a review. Authors live for that. And you don't have to write much. Just leave it some stars if that's all you have time for. It's the like and subscribe of the book world. And on that note, please like and subscribe now if you have not already done so, so you'll never miss another episode of Writer to Writer. And so we can continue to bring you the authors that you adore. It's such a nice time talking to you, Ingrid. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was very enjoyable. Thank you too.